Meantime, Ontario's Liberal Premier is facing a storm of outrage from anti-wind turbine protesters. They want to stop the province's plan to install 1,000 more wind turbines in their communities. Rebecca Thompson has more from the newsroom.
Yes, well, if you can imagine these wind turbines, they're about 42 stories high. The communities have huge concerns over them, and the Premier was met with a rude awakening when 80 protesters called out to her while she was visiting rural Ontario, saying that these wind turbines, in fact, are ruining their lives.
My life has been made a living hell.
So Martina's
I've had to leave my home for over a year now. Why aren't you listening?
Now, these wind turbine protesters are taking issue with the fact that the Ontario government has an arbitrary nature of where they put these, and not to mention the fact that, as you say, they have 1,000 more that are set to be introduced. Also, in addition to that, there are huge environmental and health concerns. In addition to that, they produce an excess power for Ontario that Ontario doesn't need. And in addition to that, they aren't doing anything to drive down the costs of energy bills. Now, when I just asked the Premier Kathleen Wynne the question as to whether she would put the brakes on these new wind turbines that are to be set up, she didn't quite have an answer.
I've been very clear with all of the people who I've spoken to, and I spoke to some of the folks yesterday, that we are actively engaged in putting in place new rules in terms of municipal control, municipal autonomy over the placement of wind turbines. So going forward, I'm very interested in there being a different community process for sure.
Now, the Ontario opposition, the PCs, have been very clear that they're not certain the Ontario Liberal Premier Kathleen Wynne will have any other direction from her predecessor.
While Ontario may have a new Premier, unfortunately they feel very strongly it's the same old Liberal government that's not going to listen and just keep forcing these turbines into communities that are unwilling hosts.
Now, Anita, it's why this MPP from the Ontario PC Party has tabled a private member's bill that will essentially rewrite the law when it comes to wind turbines. What Lisa Thompson wants to do is to allow communities to have veto power over decisions made as to where wind turbines will go. In addition to that, allow communities to decide if they want to promote wind energy, as well as whether wind power is affordable or not. In fact, meaning the cost per kilowatt hour must line up with other sources of generation. The opposition say, in fact, that wind power isn't doing anything to drive down the costs of energy bills in Ontario. So this is a big issue, of course, for the opposition. It's a big issue for rural Ontario. Kathleen Wynne was met with protesters, and of course this could continue on if the Ontario Liberal government doesn't address the issue of these new wind turbines across the province.
Yeah, it seems like the heat's definitely on. All right, thanks for this, Rebecca.
Thank you, Anita.